even though someone's cognition, they can't remember short term, music is kind of a backdoor to other parts of the brain. Music is the sense that occupies engages more parts of the brain than any other activity. So because some parts may be damaged, other parts are still very much functional. And so in terms of the emotions and recall of music when we're young, and then the memories, pulls up the memories that are associated with them. And we can even generate new neural pathways with the music. It's even within the dementia sphere.
Welcome to Absolute Trust Talk with your host, Kirsten Howe. Absolute Trust Talk brings you tips, tools, advice, and interviews to help you build a reliable knowledge base on estate planning, business, and finance to start preparing for your future today.
Hello, and welcome to Absolute Trust Talk. I'm Kirsten Howe. I am the host of Absolute Trust Talk today, here in the, 7th year of the COVID pandemic? Just an exaggeration, of course, but I'm sure you feel like I do. This has been going on a long time. I hope you are all doing everything you can to stay safe. I am very excited about this episode today. I know I say that from time to time, and I'm very excited, and that's because I like doing it. But this episode is very special in my mind. Every year, I attend an annual conference put on by CANNER, which is California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform. And it's an elder law conference in Monterey, usually the week before Thanksgiving, although it's been a couple of years, but I'm really looking forward to the next one. And about maybe 5-6 years ago at the conference, they showed us a documentary film called Alive Inside that just knocked my socks off. And all the socks in the room were knocked off. I wasn't the only one. And I've been thinking about that film, and I've been talking about it ever since. And we will talk about the film in a minute. I can't tease you like that and then walk away from it. But I'm excited because my guest today is one of the people who made and starred in that film. And I'm just so honored to have him here. So my guest today is Dan Cohen, Master of Social Work and founder and CEO of Right to Music, which is an organization that advocates for integrating best practice music-based interventions into healthcare, and especially into long-term care, especially into dementia care. He also founded Music and Memory, which is a nonprofit organization that promotes the use of personalized music to improve the lives of the elderly and the infirm, especially dementia patients. And it's in that documentary, Alive Inside, which, by the way, won the Sundance Award, that you see the effects of the work that he does with music. Dan has presented at numerous healthcare and Alzheimer's conferences in the US and abroad, and he's here today with us. I'm so excited. Dan, welcome. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Kirsten.
Okay, so we got to talk about the film because I did tease it up and I've been raving about it, and I'm sure our listeners are curious. So the film's team, this is how I remember it, had given MP3 players, like iPod kind of things, to family members of nursing home patients and asked them to put music onto the players for their loved ones. So they were specifically asked to put music that the elderly nursing home patients liked when they were younger. So, maybe there was a big band music or Frank Sinatra or whatever that particular person really liked. And then in the film, what the film crew did is they followed a social worker who was visiting these nursing home residents, giving them the music and filming them as they're sitting there with the earbuds in their ears, listening to their favorite music. So Dan, that social worker was you. So talk to us about what happened when that music was first turned on for these folks.
So I started this on sort of not a hunch. I actually was not involved with nursing homes or dementia. And
right.
I heard someone on the radio talk about how iPods were ubiquitous, were everywhere. And so I called local nursing home, went in, I said, I know you have plenty of music already, but can we see if there's any added benefit to giving people their own music? And so when I'd set people up just as a volunteer, they just lit up. And so it sort of hit me that, wow, I expected them to like it, but not this much. And so I tell my family and friends how people would light up and they'd go, "Oh, how nice, Dan, you're giving the old people music." And I go, "No, there's something more significant here. It's really helping them in a really therapeutic, a really significant
Yeah.
way. People speaking who had been quiet for months or years and all of a sudden speaking." So I had to bring in, and I was lucky for just an afternoon, a filmmaker to just capture some of this.
Right.
And that was a resident named Henry, who was head down, quiet for years, but who lit up and started talking a blues streak to everybody's amazement.
It was dramatic in the film. Some of the because you showed, before and after in some cases, and it was astounding the difference that made. People who hadn't talked, who spent their days, sitting in a wheelchair with their head down, were suddenly talking. It was unbelievable. You got to see it. You got to see it. Yeah.
I mean, we face kind of, especially in nursing homes, sort of an epidemic of loneliness, depression, and that the CDC has even measured that people are having no more than 11 minutes of meaningful engagement each day. So there's just a lot of alone time for many reasons. Society doesn't necessarily value people who have dementia and want to give them, "Oh, they've got dementia, don't bother. What can you do?" No,
Right.
their
Right.
emotional system's still very much intact, and they're the same person in there. And so we need to do everything we can to keep connected, keep them as feeling as good and as enlivened as possible.
Yeah, and the title of the film is so appropriate, Alive Inside. These people possibly for years have appeared to have gone. And that's how a lot of people in our society think of dementia, advanced dementia patients, is they're just not there anymore. But you demonstrated on video that they are there. They really are there.
So even though someone's cognition, they can't remember short term, music is kind of a backdoor to other parts of the brain. Music is the sense that is occupies more, engages more parts of the brain than any other activity. So because some parts may be damaged, other parts are still very much functional. And so in terms of the emotions and recall of music when we're young, and then the memories, pulls up the memories that are associated with them. And we can even generate new neural pathways with the music. It's even within the dementia sphere.
That's it's all fascinating, all very fascinating. Now, in the film, I'm just going to point out to our audience, this film is available on Amazon. It's called Alive Inside. If you get a chance to watch it, I really encourage you to do so. And we saw this dramatic improvement caused by music in the film. Is there research, Dan, that shows this positive connection between music and cognitive ability?
So in the last 15 years or so, the research studies have been specifically geared towards people's favorite music. I mean, there's 40,000 different studies in the last 25 years around music and health. Many of them small studies, but many research institutions have done large studies. Even in California, one of the world's largest studies, 4,000 nursing home residents in 200 nursing homes. And they found, it was run by the UC Davis nursing department. And they found that depression and anxiety were reduced each quarter by 16%, quarter to quarter. So quite amazing, not just 16% over a couple of years, but it was a dramatic improvement. They reduced the use of anti-psychotic medications, which kind of are mostly negative and unnecessary. And so they can be replaced sometimes by music, and reduced aggression. People tend to be a lot calmer and less likely to be frustrated in communicating with others and lashing out and maybe, hurting someone. So people are calmer. There's less, people are safer, actually. Also, there are fewer injuries when people have their own music to listen to.
Right. Because that's one of the things that we know can happen in nursing homes, is especially dementia patients. They can be difficult, or they can get agitated. They can be maybe a little challenging, and the use of medication sort of makes it easy for the staff, but not necessarily great for the patient. If you could achieve that same effect with music rather than medication, wouldn't that be great?
So they track this in nursing homes. The federal government tracks the use of antipsychotics and encourages its decline. But at home, everybody who has someone who's not in a nursing home who has dementia, ask the doctor, is one of these meds an antipsychotic? And usually they're only really needed if someone has a history of schizophrenia or Tourette syndrome or something. And if there's no mental health psychiatric history, no,
They
then
shouldn't be on an
they should be on it.
antipsychotic.
They need to do something else because it
Right.
has really negative, seriously negative impact. So
Right. I mean, that's a common, know what the medications are and understand why you have them. And don't be afraid to challenge it if it's not appropriate. And now maybe you have an alternative to at least try it if you're at home. We've been talking about nursing home patients, but this individualized music could work for anyone. And it's not just dementia, right? It has positive effects on a lot of other kinds of clinical presentations, I guess I'd say.
absolutely, someone with Parkinson's disease who has difficulty with movement, when they have music at a certain beat, it helps fluidity of movement. They can now walk where they only shuffled before, or someone can bathe, or in the kitchen can actually do things more smoothly. It's Huntington's disease. It's very helpful also with movement. It's help people swallow. It's helpful to people who have pain, arthritic pain. Pain signals in the brain follow at some point the same pathways as music signals. And so you can distract that, and it just reduces the perception of pain. Appetite, we've got the research around that people who have advanced dementia, it just increases their appetite. It, in terms of caregiving, for caregivers who have, caregiver stress, it's very hard every day, every hour taking care of someone. But when there's music, for the person who has whatever reason they're home, it could be dementia or something else, it again lifts the spirit at home, lifts the
Of
tone.
everybody in the house.
Everybody in the house. And people
Yeah.
are more cooperative. Bathing is easier, feeding is easier. All of these activities of daily living, as they call them, are easier. And so, and it helps with engagement. When people have their own music, they tend to want to share and interact. Oh, you
Talk
got to
about
hear
it.
this music, or let's talk about,
Or this reminds me of the time. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's a jumping off point. So for
Right.
someone who's isolated, families tend to not visit their relatives and friends who have a diagnosis. Well, what am I going to do while I'm there?
What am I going to
Well, music.
say? Yeah. Play
Music's
music. Yeah.
good.
You don't have to say anything. Just turn on the music.
And then watch what happens. Oh, you remember that song, or whatever? What does it remind you of? And people might just very well kick into gear. And then and it's residual, the impact. So when the music stops and someone's in a great mood, that just could go on for the rest of the day.
Sure.
And so,
Yeah. And you use the word distraction. That's the process? That's how it works? It's because there's distraction happening? You're being distracted away from other things?
So I use that term in relation to pain.
Okay.
So distraction. In other words, yes, when you hear the music, I tried this when the dentist was drilling. And it gave me something else to think about. I still felt the drilling, but it was, but it's used, there are studies with 7,000 patients where the surgeon, during surgery, surgeon has their own music,
Sure.
usually very upbeat. And then there's other music for the
Just
patient,
for the patient.
right? And the research shows that a patient will need less anesthesia, and they'll come out of it sooner, and their recovery might be quicker. So it's used pretty extensively now, just another setting. And rehab, people who aren't motivated, to do rehab, and like when we exercise, oh, I don't want to run, I'm not going to the gym. But when they have
put your earbuds in. Right.
Yeah,
Well, that's fascinating. I'll just tell my little thing. About a year ago, I was doing a painting project in my home, and it was going on and on and on. It was taking me forever. And normally I listen to podcasts when I'm doing stuff like that. And one day I just put on a CD of some really favorite music. And I stayed there and I painted for 4 hours without thinking about it, without complaining about it. It's like a miraculous discovery. Duh, it's a no-brainer, but it was the music. It was the music that completely changed my attitude toward that project. So that just kind of illustrates that it's not just about people who have problems. I mean, that's a problem, but it's not a medical problem.
We should all start with ourselves. That think about where are we, when are we listening, and how are we accessing it, and are we listening to the songs that we love most? And so if not, let's work on making that happen, either through all of these Alexa, HomePod Mini, whatever, Google Nest home speakers, and just ask for anything, play the Byrds, play the Beatles, play Tchaikovsky. Yeah. And it's easy, it's fast, and it's anywhere.
Yeah. And especially, I'm just going to say, nowadays when a lot of people are really struggling with feeling isolated, depressed, anxious, try it. Why not?
And then we're able to assist others. So the more we focus, do that first step. Okay, I haven't really done it yet. I'm busy. No, let's do it. And then it's easier to take that next step.
To share that idea with the next person down the line. Yeah. All right. So after seeing this film, it would be obvious to anyone that music should be available like this in every nursing home to every nursing home resident. And since the film, you have been working to raise awareness and advocate for the use of music as medicine. And now you're involved in Right to Music. Talk to us about that, what you're up to there.
So what I learned in rolling out some 5,000 long-term care facilities and hospitals and hospices and such with personalized music out of the 40,000 plus such entities, settings in the US alone, is that it's hard. There's a lot of turnover of staff. It's optional. And so my focus now is we really need to make sure everybody gets their music. That's sort of food for the soul. No matter what sort of chaos goes on in a nursing home in terms of staffing, everybody still gets their meals. They still get their medications every day. But if somebody usually gets their music, somebody helps them with the headphones or turns it on. Well, if a temp, nurse comes in, they're not going to know.
They don't know to do that.
Yeah. And they're in a rush. So then it gets dropped. And then that person's day is affected. And so my focus with Right to Music is, yes, public education on the impact. And everybody should just, of course, we're going to do this for grandma, but also policy. And the government needs to support it so music as medicine intervention on a more systemic, focused way over time, not just, we'll do a sort of a special project to see if it works. No, we know it works.
Right.
Just NIH, the National Institute of Health is doing a very important advancement in how they study music in the brain, involving lots of lead researchers to really do it the NIH way. And sort of large scale. And so I'm very excited about that they're taking it really as a first tier problem to address.
Nice. Yeah. It needs to be permanent. It needs to be something that's not going to go away because the one person who did it has moved on to another job. Right. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a big rock to push up a hill for you. And I hope to see you succeed there. We do have some questions from our audience. If you are watching us live when we're doing Absolute Trust Talk, you can always type a question into the comment section on Facebook. If you're listening to us now on a recording, sorry, you don't get to ask questions, but we do have some questions. So Dan, I'm going to scroll up and ask you. Okay, this is a question about the movie. Did the people in the movie experience lasting effects? In other words, if they started singing or talking, did they keep doing that, or was that only while they were listening to the music?
So I like to use the analogy of any medication we're taking. Take this twice a day, ongoing. And so with the music, it's true. Music you listen to it once and your moods change forever. No, it doesn't work that way. But if you listen to it once 3 times a day for a half an hour, then in fact you have perhaps a more continuous outcome.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. You can't just take your blood pressure medication once and expect that it's going to change your life. Okay. This next one, I think we kind of touched on it, but I'll ask it because it's here. Has music been shown to have a positive effect on people who aren't sick or suffering from dementia or any other disease?
Well, I think we all just have to look at ourselves. How has music affected us? Do we love to go to see a Broadway musical? Do we love singing nursery rhyme to grandchild? Do we tap our feet to, music? And do we notice when music isn't just what we like? If we're in the store and you go, background music, or sometimes they play something, they got it right. I mean, I like driving my car, listening to sort of serious, streaming 60s music. I'm very happy, and I'll bop around. If they're not playing something I like, I go to the Beatles channel, and whatever your preference is, it's sort of there. And there are different ways to access this. So I think we do it for mood regulation. Different people, everybody has a different level of intensity around music. Some people say, I can't live without it. It's been, really important for my life. And others like, oh, I love it. And, and they enjoy it when they have it access. So everybody has their own approach. So the answer is yes, we use it to help calm us down or help, and weddings. I mean, we wait for, or any party, we wait for a DJ or someone or a band to play that song we want to dance to, because music and movement are so closely tied. Then we get up and we're into it when it's the music we love. If it's not, I'll pass on this song.
Yeah, I'll just sit and talk for a little while longer. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That is a good way of looking at it. Okay, I think that's all the questions. So I guess there's a couple of things for our listeners to kind of take away here, that on the individual level, think about what you can do for yourself, for your friends, for your family members by helping people bring music back into their lives if it's not a prominent part of their lives. And maybe, I guess, on a more societal level, what can we do to help make music more standardly available in these facilities? Dan, do you have anything to say about that?
I think it comes in the context of supporting our elders more in general in healthcare and in long-term care, and just be a voice. When you do go or you're looking for a place, oh, does this assisted living? Does everybody? They make sure everybody has their own music. And if there's a pandemic and they have everybody locked in their room and they can't have activities, they can't do group singing or karaoke, what's going to happen? They're just going to drop a box of crayons in the room. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
And so, but if they have their own music in their room with their own favorites, and this is what people who've had that for those great facilities that have set people up with that, they said it's been a lifesaver, because with the pandemic, people's decline with dementia without has been more rapid.
Oh, sure.
And the music helped keep people more sane through this terrible process.
Yeah. It's been very hard for folks living in assisted living and nursing homes the last couple of years, and any little thing. And music is not a little thing. I saw it in the film. So thank you, Dan, so much for being here. I'm very grateful. I'm sure our listeners are also very grateful that you were able to spare a little bit of time this morning.
My pleasure, Kirsten. Thanks so much.
All right. And thank you all for being here with us today. If you were watching live, thank you so much for being in the audience. We are always here at Absolute Trust Council to help you with estate planning, with elder law, with Medi-Cal planning, special needs planning. So don't hesitate to reach out if there's something we can help you with. You can find out more about us on absolutetrustcouncil.com. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to connecting with you next time.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Absolute Trust Talk Live. If you enjoyed listening in, then don't forget to subscribe. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may listen by searching Absolute Trust Talk. While you're there, we would also love for you to leave us a review. And then why not share your favorite episodes with family, friends, or colleagues too? You can find all of our shows and corresponding show notes by visiting absolutetrustcouncil.com. You'll also find a variety of other free resources, including our ebooks, videos, blogs, presentations, and more. If you need help with your estate planning or administration, we also offer a free discovery call to help get the process started. You can find more information on booking your session by visiting absolutetrustcouncil.com/scheduling. Don't forget to keep an eye out for our next live episode in 2 weeks. If you join us for the broadcast, you can submit questions during the show. But if not, don't worry. You can always get in touch with us by sending a quick message to info@absolutetrustcouncil.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you soon.
This podcast is not meant to take the place of legal advice from an attorney and does not create an attorney-client relationship. If you do have a legal question or issue, please consult with an attorney.